Islam, peace and love. Peace, love, and energy. Energy and energy. I am Sade Renee L. All rights reserved, and I'm back at it again with another video. And today I'm actually going to be doing another quick video. It's titled The Abilities and Responsibilities of the Moors. Per usual, I'm going to read straight through it. Thank you for tuning into my channel. Please like, share, subscribe, donate. And here we go. The Abilities and Responsibilities of Moors. Moors have obligations to each other, and others have obligations to Moors. Moors have a responsibility to the world as demonstrated during, but not limited to, the era when civilization flourished as a result of their contributions and influences in Europe. Europe was originally inhabited by Moors and was named Europa, after Queen Europa, a Moorish sister. Europe was a designation point where the Caucasians were taken to for a more suitable climate and to rope them in, hence Europa. People were named after their accomplishments, and places were named after people and their accomplishments, to be recorded in heritage and history, just as the Roman general on Cephas Africana was named after his conquering and colonizing of Africa, the land that has already been divided by the Atlantic Ocean, Atlantis, along the east coast, which is where Lemuria, French Lu, the as in the Mers, or the land of the Mers, is located. That division is clearly noted on the map upon looking at South America and Africa. It fits like a puzzle. Now we know why Tarzan was in the jungle with the Africans, yet swinging along the Amazon River, which is located in South America. Now we also know why the Olmec heads, unequivocally African features, were dug up in South America. Anyone who continues to hold on to the lie that we only came here by the way of slave boats are making a clear contradiction to, number one, their claim that we are the mothers and fathers of civilization, and number two, that they themselves are not agents for the lie. The Calzicoid Mountains was named after the scientist Jakub Kasutis, thus Caucasians, in the mountain caves, as in caveman or cave dwellers. They could avoid the rays of sun, as many died from their skin cancer, leprosy. The ongoing education and welfare of the modern man was on the shoulders of those who grafted them. Moors established universities, which to this day offer a pristine education. When the Moors entered or re-entered Spain 711 AD, it was for the purpose of civilizing, not conquering. Students flocked from France, Germany, and England to drink from the fountain of learning, which flowed only in the cities of the Moors. Now, when Moors left Spain, the Dark Ages, a period of social decline, ensued or returned, leaving modern man to fend for themselves. The Dark Ages were not referring to Moors. Those who Moors civilized and gave a basis of education as a matter of obligation and responsibility eventually became known as the colonists. A colonist is one who essentially leeches off another, including the land, resources, etc. Unfortunately, due to their desire to have the power and control and their inability to survive and flourish, as was when the Moors left Spain and Spain degraded into beggars, friars, and bandits, and due to their desire to be free and sovereign, they began a mission of conquering and colonizing the world by any means necessary. Their intent is described in the Bull Inter Cateria Divina, a writ or bulletin that describes what they call a divine purpose and intervention, although is not based in divine principles, as its directives state the following: to plunder the New World of its treasures was acceptable because it was populated by pagans. To Christianize the pagans was necessary because it was part of God's plan. To kill them was right because they were Satan's or Antichrist warriors. There is no escaping Moore's responsibility to Frankenstein. Thus, the Treaty of Peace and Friendship is one agreement that outlines some of those responsibilities and is to be attached to the Constitution as valid against the Constitution, as is the Confederation. See Article 6 of the Constitution for the United States of North America Republic. I've done several videos about that, or you could just look it up. The Constitution is an ongoing agreement to prior agreements. Many think the Constitution voids any previous agreements. If that were the case, Article 6 would not have been written, and those who sit in the seats of government right now wouldn't have taken an oath to it. As it were, anyone who sits in the seats of government derive their authority from. As for the Confederation, if you trace that back, you will see it is too based on in divine principles, and the Confederation was those of the Aboriginal people, wherein confederations include a group of conglomeration, of people or a political jurisdiction of people. The treaty had to be written as a matter of responsibility for those who came here causing discord. Some of us did not want to treat with them, and we were at odds with each other. However, that is like your brothers and sisters disagreeing and doing something against your preference. That does not mean that they are still your brother or your sister. The Treaty of Peace and Friendship surely exists, although denied, not only by occupying European colonists, but obvious usurping reasons. But it is also denied by the descendants of those who authorized it, which is one of the greater points and purposes of this writing. Some unconscious Moors continue to claim to be descendants of Negroes, colors, blacks, African Americans, etc., from a position that they think is lawful, yet it is not. Some make these claims anyway out of ignorance. In truth, it places them outside of the law, outside of the constitutional fold of government, outside of the ancient principles that they say resides within them, and outside of the human family. They are the outlaws and don't recognize those branded names, and notwithstanding as well, they don't seem to acknowledge that they are in dishonor of their foremothers and forefathers. It is way past time to stop claiming those brands. There is no such thing as ancient black people. Black is, however, a description. It is not an identity. Because we are very comfortable with using it, we think that is the only way to communicate with each other in a manner in which we can understand or accept. This goes against the logic, certainly for any leader, guide, scholar, or teacher, because their duty and mission is to tell people the truth and guide them into right knowledge, not give them what feels good or comfortable to satisfy their emotions. This is not about your emotions. It's about facts. The people are able to grasp what is being said to them, especially after they learn words and how to read. After all, they are the descendants of the ones who taught the principles of civilization, the seven liberal arts. A child can understand that he is not black. In his innocence, he would say, "Mommy, if I were black, I would look like a black shoe." Therefore, to say that people won't understand is an insult to the people, or just an excuse. Thus, one who tries to support such must be an agent, or at the very least, a Morisco from the time past, That was fun. What the people, particularly the youth, are fed up with is being called something different every 20 to 30 years. A thinking mind of a child can see that confusion exists. At the very least, the variety of pseudo-identities supposedly for the collective causes disunity for the child as they grow up. This is partly why there is so much discord amongst each other regarding who we are. Without serious studies and without having the keys, one will not be able to know, nor will they be able to guide anyone else. Again, this is right ground for agents, or for the ones Morisco's spirits. He or she is one and the same. Most of us certainly feel the pain of the conquest intent, and most of us say we will wish to do something about it, to begin in the struggle for change. However, continuing to call each other black people and to fight for rights for black people is really a hypocrisy and gets us no closer to resolution. Black people have no rights because it identifies one as being outside of the human family. All trust is placed upon one's foremothers and forefathers. The truth is not comfortable for most. As Drew Ali said, the nations don't want the truth because it's too stern. Our own actions or lack of action keeps us from being responsible to ourselves, to our children, and to the others. Ignorance of these facts do not make them untruth, nor will the truth pass away. Seek ye truth, and all else will come unto you. The treaty, Constitution, was established after the colonists came here and committed murder, mayhem, and treason in this, the land of milk and honey, Northwest Amexem, Northwest Africa, North America. Take note that the treaty was written after the Declaration of Independence of 1776, wherein the colonists were determined to be treated equally because they weren't being treated equally at the time. It is interesting to note how today they try to act as if they never heard of Moors, yet the treaty was written and is a document of American history, as is the letter from George Washington to the Sultan. The treaty was written to bring about peace and provide protection to them, the colonists, on the high seas and on the land. Thus, the banner that they were hailed for acknowledgement of them was the Star-Spangled Banner, just as most of us were taught via the song in school. It is a banner of peace and amity, or of commerce, which allowed them, the colonists, to do and make trade. They now call it the American flag, but it was in its origin state the Star-Spangled Banner, not the Star-Spangled Flag. Because we don't stand up or speak out, others who have the obligation to us have done what they will too, with no rebuttals, no course, no remedy. The Battle of Gettysburg is one of the bloodiest battles fought here, and the graves are filled with Moors. Take a trip down there and see for yourself. The irony of the South fighting the North for freedom, or not, is the battle was fought on real property of what they call a free slave in the modern documentaries. However, he was a Moor who was never ever a slave in the first place. The tables seem to have been turned at this time, yet the pendulum always swings back to the other way, and cause and effect is always in effect. Moors' obligation to others, and others' obligation to Moors, is outlined in the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. The treaty and the Constitution for the United States of North America Republic are equally valid today. One cannot be acknowledged without the other. The treaty is written perpetually, but it is to be revisited every 50 years for any adjustments or amendments. It was revisited in 1836. The only change was those who were present, as the Sultan had passed form and his son was present on his behalf. It has not been revisited since then, as those who would treat it of believe by way of false teachings that they have nothing to do with it, and that they are descendants of Negroes, coloreds, black, Afro-Americans, African Americans, etc. The European colonists who needed to preserve the treaty for their own safety and protection can now bury it and pretend like it doesn't exist. They act and speak for Moors because those brand names are chattel property and fictitious corporate entities that have no rights to secure. This is why in court they want you to have someone else speak for you, and then they sentence you. It's a phrase of words. Those who think that they are Negro, colored, black, African American are victims of slavery usually begin their history on slave boats from Africa. Subsequently, they also end their history there as well, because its origin and nature does not allow for anyone to honestly trace their history beyond that period. As soon as one goes past the 17th century, prior to those brands, they enter immediately into Moorish history all over the world. It is a necessity to establish rules of law, particularly for the uncivilized, for the purposes of maintaining civilization. These ancient laws are derived from the matriarchal natural law and commonality of all. This is why the Constitution, on one hand, is referred to as the oldest and ancient documents, and on the other hand, people think it came about only for the European colonists ratified in 1791. The principles of civilization are ancient and may have stood for the preservation of them. Downright murder and theft holds no candle to morals, ethics, and truth. Destruction of the libraries, burning of books have left a seemingly clean slate to introduce misinformation. And that is exactly what happened. The Reconstruction Era, a more recent demonstration of reconstructing the literature and preparing for miseducation. This is why one will find the older writings have the greatest appeal. The principles of civilization are ancient, and thus, we the people of the United States, of which there are many, adopted this Constitution for the United States of America as stated in the preamble. Everyone is endowed by their Creator. Ooh, I love this. Ooh, I love this. Okay, sorry, let me read it. Everyone is endowed by their Creator, with certain unalienable rights of birthrights, which cannot be bought, sold, or transferred, nor can the exercising of them be made void or turned into a crime. The Constitution protects, preserves, and secures those unalienable rights, and guarantees a republican, matriarchal form of government. Anything outside of that has no standing. Woo! Fire. It is a travesty. It is a travesty when the civilization principles which establish the rules of engagement, government, are not honored by those who say that they are mothers and fathers of civilization, as they are the very ones, descendants, who established the authorized by way of writing them, writs, and securing these principles as the supreme law of the land. Failure to acknowledge and honor your own unalienable rights allows for others to violate them, and has caused great degradation to man and mankind. This continued dishonor can only be rectified by the originators, the Aboriginal and Indigenous people of the planet, who have a responsibility and obligation. And this is a definition, the following is a definition of free white persons. Knowing that the Aboriginal people of Europe, of the planet for that matter, are Moors, will help one gain understanding as to why Moors claim free white persons from a lawful standpoint, as it is not an identification from a pedigree standpoint. It is a legal status terminology. Hopefully, it will put an end to any confusion regarding free white persons. All right, and I'm just going to stop there for now. Of course, I'll be back with more studies later on. So just stay tuned in. I always appreciate you guys, checking out my videos. Thank you for taking the time. Much gratitude. I really appreciate it. On your way out, if you haven't done already, go ahead and hit that like button. Please leave a comment, subscribe, share. And until next time, love, 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 peace and love, peace, love, and energy, and Islam.